Something just shifted in the Houston housing market, and most homeowners haven't noticed it yet. Inventory is rising across the metro. Homes are sitting longer. Buyers are starting to negotiate again. And some Houston neighborhoods are exploding with demand while others quietly slow down. If you own a home in Houston, the next few months could determine whether your equity grows or stalls. Good morning, Houston. I'm Armando Espinosa, and this is your Houston Pulse Market Minute, where we break down the signals shaping the Houston real estate market before the rest of the market catches up. Today, we're looking at several developments that could impact home prices, buyers, and sellers across the Houston metro. Houston inventory is rising, pending sales are slipping, mortgage rates are showing volatility again, buyers are slowly regaining negotiating power, and several Houston communities are seeing explosive growth that investors are beginning to notice. If you own a home in Houston or you're thinking about buying or selling, these signals matter. Let's get into it. Quick pause for a moment. If you're a homeowner in Houston, one of the most valuable things you can understand right now is how buyers actually see your home online. Because today, most buyers decide within seconds whether they even want to schedule a showing. That one decision can determine whether a home sells quickly or sits. For the past several years, buying a home in Houston felt like a combat sport. Multiple offers, homes selling in days, buyers waiving inspections just to compete, but that era may be ending. A report from Fox 26 Houston, written by journalist McKenna Earnhardt, described how the housing frenzy appears to be cooling, noting that homes across the Houston market are now sitting on the market for about 66 days on average, the longest stretch we've seen since 2019. That number might not sound dramatic, but in real estate, time on market tells us who has leverage. For years, sellers controlled negotiations, and now buyers are gaining time. Buyers are gaining options, and buyers are starting to negotiate again. Repairs, seller concessions, and sometimes even price reductions. And for the first time in years, buyers can slow down, and that shift changes the psychology of the entire market. Now, here's one of the biggest drivers behind this shift. Inventories. According to the Houston Association of Realtors, February 2026 market reports, the Houston housing market has seen a noticeable increase in homes available for sale compared to last year, with average list prices around $436,000 across active listings. That data comes directly from the Houston Association of Realtors, which tracks housing activity across the entire metro area. At the same time, the HAR Weekly Activity Snapshot, created in partnership with the Texas A&M Real Estate Center, shows more new listings entering the market compared with the same time last year. More homes for sale means something important. Competition. More competition among sellers means buyers suddenly have choices again. And when buyers have choices, pricing becomes strategy. And this is why understanding your neighborhood specifically matters. Real estate markets don't move the same across an entire city. Some Houston neighborhoods are heating up fast while others are beginning to cool. Knowing where your home falls in that spectrum can make a huge difference if you're thinking about selling. Now let's talk about something many people overlook when they hear about home prices. Prices in Houston are sending mixed signals right now. According to the Houston Association of Realtors February 2026 housing market update, the median home price across the Houston metro area is roughly $322,000, while the average home price is closer to $416,000. That difference tells us something important about the market. Luxury homes priced above $1 million are still seeing strong demand. Meanwhile, homes in the middle price ranges are experiencing slower activity as buyers adjust to affordability pressures. What that creates is essentially two housing markets happening at the same time. Luxury homes continue moving, mid-range homes are adjusting, and if you're planning to sell in that middle price range, strategy suddenly matters more than ever. Another factor influencing buyer behavior right now is affordability. Houston has long been considered one of the more affordable major metro areas in the United States, but affordability isn't just about the price of a home, it's about the monthly payment. Buyers today are calculating everything: mortgage payment, property taxes, insurance, maintenance costs, and sometimes homeowners association fees. All of these numbers combine to determine what buyers can comfortably afford. Now, if you're a buyer watching this market, there's another factor that might matter even more than home prices: mortgage rates. Mortgage news. Daily, in a report written by housing analyst Matthew Graham, noted that the average 30-year mortgage rate recently recovered to around 6.13% after briefly touching a 3-week high. Mortgage rates have been moving up and down with economic news, bond market activity, and global developments. And that volatility matters because even a half-point change in mortgage rates can shift buying power by tens of thousands of dollars. For many buyers, affordability hinges entirely on where rates go next. And that's why many economists are watching mortgage rates more closely than home prices right now. Let's zoom in for a moment on weekly housing activity across the Houston area. Houston Agent Magazine recently reported that pending home sales have been slipping across the metro area while buyers take more time evaluating their options. In an article written by Emily Marek, the report described how sellers are hesitating while buyers remain active but cautious. Interestingly, even as pending sales have slowed, showing activity across Houston has actually increased compared to last year. That tells us something important. Buyers are still looking, they're just being more selective, which is exactly what we expect to see when a market transitions from a strong seller's market toward a more balanced one. Now, there's another trend quietly developing underneath the surface of the Houston housing market: price reductions. More listings are beginning to adjust their asking prices after sitting longer than expected. That doesn't mean the market is collapsing, but it does reveal something important. The market is becoming more sensitive to pricing. During the previous housing surge, many homes could be priced aggressively and still attract buyers quickly. Today, buyers have more options. And when buyers have more options, they compare everything: price, condition, location, school districts, taxes, flood history, and how long the home has been sitting on the market. Homes that sit too long sometimes develop what real estate agents call stale listing syndrome. Buyers begin to assume something might be wrong with the property, even if the only issue is that it started slightly overpriced. This is why pricing strategy is becoming one of the most important decisions sellers make in today's Houston housing market. Before we wrap up, there's another signal investors are watching closely. Certain areas around Houston are experiencing explosive growth. According to the Houston Association of Realtors newsroom report on the hottest communities in the region, several suburbs outside the city are seeing dramatic increases in home sales, driven by new construction and affordability. These communities often share the same pattern: new homes being built, lower entry prices compared to central Houston, and expanding development corridors. When growth begins spreading into these areas, it often signals the next wave of demand. Investors and builders are already watching those patterns carefully. So, what does all this mean if you live in Houston? The Houston housing market is not crashing, but it is evolving. Inventory is rising, buyers are gaining leverage, mortgage rates remain unpredictable, and sellers are beginning to face more competition. For buyers, this could be the most opportunity we've seen in several years. For sellers, pricing strategy is becoming more important than ever. The homes that sell fastest right now are the homes priced correctly from the start. The homes that miss the mark on price are beginning to sit longer on the market, and that trend is likely to shape Houston real estate throughout the rest of the year. If you want to stay ahead of what's happening in the Houston housing market, follow along for the next update. I'm Armando Espinosa, and this has been the Houston Pulse Market Minute.